What happens when you try to remove yourself from chaos, and the chaos just reroutes around you? That's the question I didn't know I was answering when I tried to do something simple. Adult, boring, practical. I tried to separate finances. I tried to remove myself from the blast radius. I thought if I stepped out of the way, the explosion wouldn't hit me. I was wrong. This story isn't about money. It's about control. It's about urgency manufactured out of thin air. It's about how every attempt to simplify somehow makes things more complicated, louder, more volatile. And how no matter how carefully you move, you still end up standing in the wrong place when the bomb goes off. Here's the part that still messes with my head. None of this had to happen. On the surface, things were already changing. My partner was moving across the country for a new job in 2 months. New state, new apartment, new chapter. At least that's what it looked like on paper. In reality, this was just another stress fracture forming under pressure. Another test of whether order could survive inside a system that seems to thrive on disorder. We still all live together. Mid-50s adults, a daughter in her late 20s. One household, one rent payment, one app, one shared point of friction that had ignited more arguments than I could count. Money conversations in our house never stayed about money. They mutated. They turned personal. They turned accusatory. They turned nuclear. So I did what made sense to me. I tried to remove myself from the equation. For years, rent worked like this. She sent me her portion. I paid it from my account. Simple. Except simple meant that if anything went wrong, I was automatically at fault. Late payment? My fault. App glitch? My fault. Fee increase? Somehow still my fault. I was the middleman, and middlemen get crushed when both sides push. So I decided to step aside. I set up her own login on the Rent app, attached her bank account, gave her full control over her responsibility. No more relaying money, no more reminders, no more blame landing on my desk by default. It was tedious. Password resets, verification emails, linking accounts. But I got it done, and then she refused to use it. She said she wasn't going to log in herself. She said she'd just keep sending me the money like before. Same system, same dependency, same outcome. I could feel the pattern reasserting itself like wet concrete hardening around my feet. Then the leasing company changed the rules. No more passwords. Now it was one-time passcodes. Every login triggered a code sent to the account email, which meant that if I needed to access the app, I needed the code from her email, which meant I needed her cooperation. I didn't get it. She wouldn't give me the code, wouldn't forward it, wouldn't read it, wouldn't engage. The door slammed shut again. The system that was supposed to remove friction had just added another layer of friction. So I adapted. I created a new email account for her, one I had access to. I attached that email to the Rent app. Now, when the code came in, I could retrieve it myself. No chasing, no arguments, no delays. The whole thing felt ridiculous, but it worked. Another workaround, another patch on a leaking pipe. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't even the beginning. Here's the detail that matters later. The leasing company for her new apartment was the same company as our current one. Same system, same back-end, same account ecosystem. Which meant when she contacted them about the new place using her personal email, the system didn't care. It routed everything through the email already attached to the existing account, the email I controlled. So all the communication about her new apartment, updates, documents, lease notifications, landed in my inbox, not hers. At first, I just forwarded everything. No commentary, no analysis, no involvement. This wasn't my move. This wasn't my apartment. She was the one relocating. She was the one coordinating. I didn't even open the emails. I passed them along like unopened mail slid under a door. There was another complication I hadn't wanted to be part of. She had a bankruptcy on her record, in the new state that disqualified her from renting on her own. so the lease had to be in my name. I hated that. I didn't want my name on it. I didn't want responsibility without control. But there was no alternative. If she wanted the apartment, I had to be the applicant. So I complied again. Wednesday, an email came in. Lease ready for signature. I forwarded it to her. She replied, "Don't sign it yet. Do it this weekend." Okay. I assumed she meant she'd handle it. All it required was typing my name. Digital signature. Done. The delay, I was told, had something to do with timing. Astrology, Mercury, retrograde, the Klingons near Uranus, the invisible gears that apparently decide when it's safe to click a button. I didn't argue. I waited. Saturday night, my phone rang. Panic, urgency. Volume already turned to 11. "You need to sign the lease right now, immediately. This should have been done hours ago." That familiar jolt hit my chest. That sensation of being yanked from stillness into crisis without warning. No gradual escalation, no heads up. Just instant emergency like a fire alarm going off in a quiet room. Then the text arrived. A wall of rage, accusations, claims that she does everything, that no one helps, that everyone else is helpless and incapable, that I sit on the computer doing things that do nothing to help the family. That because of that, every problem becomes her burden. I stared at the screen. My hands were steady, but something inside me wasn't. I clicked the link to sign the lease. There was nothing there, no documents, no signature page, just an empty portal. The lease had expired. The window had closed. Friday had been the deadline. The moment stretched, silent, heavy. Now it had to be fixed. Monday morning calls, reopened applications, possible fees, possible delays, possible rejection. All of it suddenly back on the table. And somehow, this was my fault. That was the midpoint where something clicked for me. Not loudly, quietly, like a gear slipping into place. This wasn't about the lease. It never is. This was about urgency as a weapon, chaos as a constant. A pattern where systems are ignored until the last possible moment, then transformed into emergencies that demand instant action. And instant blame. Every time I try to step back, the vacuum pulls me forward again. Every time I remove myself from responsibility, the structure rearranges itself so that I'm still standing under the falling debris. The confrontation that followed wasn't explosive. It was colder than that. A slow burn. Sharp words. Circular logic. The kind of argument where facts bounce off emotion like rain on glass. Where timelines don't matter. Where intentions don't count. Where the only thing that sticks is guilt. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The noise was already deafening. By Sunday night, everything was unresolved, hanging, waiting for Monday, waiting for the verdict, waiting to see whether the system would reset or punish us for missing the window. I sat alone, staring at my screen, thinking about how many times I'd tried to simplify things in this house, how every attempt at clarity somehow produced more confusion, how every boundary I drew got erased the moment it became inconvenient. It finally hit me. Chaos doesn't need to be solved if it's serving someone's emotional needs. If urgency creates purpose, if panic creates control, if blame keeps the spotlight off deeper issues. And the most dangerous part? If you stay long enough, you start thinking it's normal. Monday would come. The lease would probably get fixed. Or maybe it wouldn't. Either way, the pattern would survive. Because patterns don't care about outcomes. They only care about repeating. The lesson landed quietly. You can't stabilize a system that feeds on instability. You can't remove yourself from chaos if the chaos keeps rewriting the rules to keep you inside it. If this story felt familiar, that's not an accident. These dynamics don't live in one house. They live everywhere. If you want to see what happens next, subscribe. The next chapter gets more honest and more dangerous. Sometimes the hardest move isn't fixing the problem, it's stepping out of the pattern entirely.